Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. And thank you for joining me here for a stop ignoring the pain. I was about to say ignore the pain. We don't want to do that, right? Stop ignoring the pain. If this is your first time scrolling on by here, I'm Darlyn Turner, also known as Coach Darlyn, and I'm here to talk with you for a few moments about pain and digging into our pain so we not ignore it. We start understanding where it comes from and to do something about it. How many of you are really ready to stop living with pain that you've been ignoring for most of your life? Some live with pain for 30, 40, 50, 60, yes, and even 70, 80 years. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about that inward unction, that inward pull that we tend to ignore. You see, our highly competitive society drives us to be the best, and we want to look the best and accumulate the most, right? But yet, as we all earn more recognition and more wealth, come on, and we might look happy and seemingly wealthy and wise. How many of you know a lot of times we seem to enjoy ourselves even less as we fall into some of those ruts and some of those situations? I'm talking to you if you understand and if you can admit, how many of you can admit that in your quiet moments, that many times you have this vague unease where you feel uneasy, that even in the moments that should have been your happiest moments, you just have that little twinge inside of you that you know something is missing, something is not happening. Well, that's what this session is all about: facing our pain, giving some understanding about pain, embracing love, and using this information that I'm going to give you to help you to deal with some of that pain. Um, when we face our pain and embrace love, then we get a guide to the discontentment and to the joy of living an authentic life. Because the truth of the matter is, most of us try to make choices to avoid our pain when actually facing our pain is the path to our most authentic life. And so we already know that drug addictions, sometimes promiscuity, all kinds of behaviors, bad behaviors come about from escaping pain. So kudos to you for joining me tonight. Listen, I want you to like and share. I want you to talk to me in the comments, right? If you have questions, um, because growing and learning and attending webinars like this is very beneficial to give you proven strategies and action steps so you can break free of some of that private pain and that uneasiness that only you and God know happens to you when you leave a big party and you go back to the car. Come on. And that sudden wave of sadness comes over you. Or when you should be celebrating and everybody else is celebrating in the room, but inside you're having a pity party, or you're feeling this sense of sadness and oppression when everything in you wants to celebrate, but it doesn't. Am I talking to anybody out there? Is anybody with me today? So if you're going to be serious about dealing with those moments in your life of heaviness and pain, I want you to hang with me. This is going to be about an hour, and I'm going to go as fast as I can. But but attention brings retention. So if you're really wanting to change, you're going to have to stay still, pay attention. And I know by the Spirit of God that if you're listening and if you're open and you really want change, that you'll get something. It could be one sentence, it can be one thing that'll illuminate your spirit to help to make you free. Are you all ready to go with me today? Because I'm ready to go with you. Because this is what can happen if you're serious about this. You can shift from cynicism and judgment to curiosity and acceptance. Some of you can shift from anxiety and confusion to having sincerity, serenity, and clarity. Some of you are going to shift from measurement and entitlement to having appreciation and gratitude. Others of you are going to move from having materialism and ownership to understanding service and stewardship. And lastly, there's also another group that God wants to move you from resentment and vengeance to forgiveness and compassion. This is a journey, and this is a journey to peace, to love, fulfillment. However, it requires you to face your pain. And one of the ways that we're going to face our pain is we're going to get some understanding about where our pain comes from. And then I'm going to give you some solutions about how to evaluate that, where pain comes from, and what to do to combat your pain. All right. Because how many of you know that only you are responsible for your pain? You alone are responsible for your pain. All right. Not the ones you love, not your spouse, not your parents, not the people who betrayed you. You are responsible for your pain. So it's only through facing ourselves that we get on this road to authenticity, to true self-expression, so that we can experience inner peace. Then and only then, if we deal with this, face our pain, then we'll have the opportunity. You're going to become more creative. You're going to obtain greater intimacy and passion, and ultimately enjoy, discover, expand the purpose that God made for you on the earth. But it all starts with you and with I facing pain. And I'm going to give you some of the things that I had to do to face my pain. Are you ready? Are y'all ready to go with me? All right, let's go. Let's go. Hang with me now. Y'all with me? Tell me who's watching. Tell me where you from. Tell me what city you watching from. Come on, give me some love up in here, all right? As we go on this journey. All right, so we are here to stop the pain. Stop the pain. And bring healing and wholeness to relationships through understanding. Again, many of you are living with pain. It might be with a spouse. It might be with your family. Come on, it might be in a multiplicity of areas. But thank you for joining from Phoenix. God bless you, woman of God. We got to pay attention to this pain because it's not God's best for us. But this is the thing about pain. Pain diminishes through understanding. How many of you all know that? That's what this is about. So don't miss this. This is why I need your attention, because a lot of how you will get your pain resolved requires your attention to begin to understand where pain comes from, why it comes. And when I'm talking about pain, I'm including frustration, agitation, anxiety. So, because some of you, I'm not just talking about your heart hurts. Some of it is, I'm saying you live in daily lives with lots of frustration and agitation. That's a painful life. I would like to give you a story that my husband used to talk about. Again, we're talking about that understanding can diminish pain. And so the Bible says, in all you're getting, get understanding. So for some of you, even on tonight, you're going to get understanding, because I know the Holy Spirit is going to begin to flood some of you with understanding as you listen, so that you can forgive, so that you can release some things, because understanding diminishes pain. My husband used to tell a story about a man who was on a plane, and he was agitated, just getting on the plane in first class, paid for it. You all know how we are when we pay for first class or pay for something, VIP or whatever. And so he let everybody know that he wanted quiet. He didn't want any issues on this plane. He just wanted to have a nice, peaceful time. And sure enough, on comes 3 young children on the plane. And they came on and they got on, and they were yelling and they were screaming and they were unruly. And the man began to get so upset. He began to curse. He began to ring his bell and call for all the stewardess, and really went off on them to let them know, listen, I paid for this ticket. I do not want to be bothered with all this noise. I don't appreciate it. And so he just went off on the staff because he was irritated by these kids yelling and screaming. And so what happened was the stewardess, because he was making such a ruckus, pulled him aside and let him know, sir, these children are uncontrollable and unruly because they were involved in an accident of which their mother was just killed, and they just came back from viewing their mother's body. And so they're unruly because they've just had a severely traumatic experience. And from this information, that same man whose pain we're defining as anxiety, frustration, come on, all of a sudden, understanding caused his pain to diminish. So what am I saying? Understanding, mutual understanding, is the backbone of healthy relationships. And when we understand, just like that same man who was ready to cuss everybody out and file a complaint, when he got understanding, all of that diminished. He was ready to be cooperative. He was ready to offer the kids candy. And do you know, and I know that may seem very simplistic to you, but do you know something that is putting you over the top even right now? Some of you that might be watching, that all you need is understanding for your mind to shift. Right? You need a different perspective. And so some of your pain will continue until you understand. Come on, I want you to make a commitment. I want you to make a commitment. Put in those comments, I'm making a commitment to understand. So you got to make a commitment to understand your spouse better. Make a commitment. You'll have less pain if you start being more understanding. That's why I'm sure some of you have heard the saying, don't listen to respond, listen to what? Understand. That's what that comment means. It means that if you would really stop and understand, then it would frame your emotions so that you don't overreact. Okay, and take things too far. Let's keep going. Come on, let's I just want you now. I'm gonna move on and move quickly. Okay, so now I'm going into my why. I'm going into my why. Okay, why am I doing this? This is a passion for me. You see those pictures? This is before Instagram. This was before Instagram, but my parents were Instagram ready, even though there was no Instagram. Aren't they beautiful? Anderson and Rady Hobson. Listen, beautiful couple. Aren't they picture perfect? But listen, my parents, although they lived an amazing and fulfilling life in many ways, they never seemed to obtain the happiness and completeness that we all expect. I'm talking about in terms of, particularly in the marriage relationship, in terms of finding the one. They never seem to be friends. When I was growing up, they never seemed to quite understand each other. They always were complaining about the other and didn't seem to be able to talk to their significant other, like some of you, come on, who are living in marriages where you aren't friends, and we're gonna get to that. So please hang, because we're gonna talk about the kinds of love. I want you to understand love at a whole nother level, but you got to stay with me, all right? Okay. And so they live in as beautiful and attractive, and they had 4 wonderful kids, of which I'm one of them. Okay. But all of that, and lived with almost 60 years of marriage, but without ever becoming friends and living with the pain of not feeling whole in their marriage. And you can say, well, how do you know that? I know that because I talked to them. I know that because I discussed it with them. And it was really a sad thing to see. So this is my why. Because there is a grace, first of all, that only comes through understanding. They never understood each other. They don't have all this that we had today. And so that's what this is my why, because I don't want to see you live 60 years in a marriage and have pain every one of those years, to never feel fulfilled, or wait a minute, even fully loved. Do you know how many people, especially in the church, especially the bishops' wives and the first ladies, that don't feel loved? Are you all kidding me? As a matter of fact, my experience has been most of them don't feel love because many times they feel like their spouses are married to their churches. And again, that there's not a lot of understanding. So what am I saying? We have to make intentional efforts to understand one another. All right. But most importantly, before we try to understand somebody else, we've got to, guess what? Understand ourselves. So let's talk about, now we're going to talk about games people play. Are y'all staying with me? We're going to the next level now, because now I got to dive on in. I'm trying to be nice in the beginning, but this is the real deal. Right at the bat, I'm gonna give you this material that if you're serious, you might want to write this down and read this book. I'm talking about if you really want to grow up. It's called Games People Play. It's the basic handbook of transactional analysis. And it talks about, again, one of the reasons why we have pain was because we haven't grown up. It's because we haven't matured. Right now, there are many reasons for pain. Now, I'm not saying that's everybody in every situation, but for a lot of people, it's because we haven't grown up. And so when you read this book by Eric Bernay, I believe it was written in the 1960s, he talks about the over 40 mind games that we all play. How many of you know you play mind games? You play games. Some of us are not aware of the mind games that we play, and the mind games we play with other people, right? And so this book talks about the games that people play. And again, those are the games that if we would mature, it would cause less pain, because when we play those games, as opposed to being authentic with one another and with our emotions, pain. Let me just give you a quick thing. I can't go into this. This is really a class all by itself. So listen, if some of you would love to have this class, let me know, put it in the comments, and we'll go through the games people play. I remember the song back in the day. But let me give you a big synopsis, just a quick synopsis, and we're going to move through that. Okay. First of all, you all know about Sigmund Freud and all the things that he did in psychology to open up how the mind works. Well, this particular writing, Eric Benet talks about these games we play through our ego, because basically our ego has 3 modes, okay? All of us have ego. You all know you have an ego. We all have an ego, right? And so your ego, my ego, listen to this, is always in one of 3 modes. Okay. God, this is key right here. Now, this can change your life right here if you begin, now that you're going to be aware of what I'm about to tell you. Your ego has three modes. Our three modes of ego are parent. Somebody can write this in the comments if you want to. Adult or child. So all of us are in our egos, either operating from a place of the parent mode, of the place of the adult mode, or the place of a child mode. So everything, every interaction we do, we're falling in one of those three categories. So the key is, you and I, if you want to help to grow up and change your relationships with people, you need to start evaluating, what mode am I treating my spouse in? I know a lot of spouses that treat their spouses like children. Like, in other words, their ego, the way they address them, come on, condescendingly, as if they don't have any knowledge, any input, come on, then they're treating them from their responses like parent to child. Or, come on, of course, so the parent mode is the place where one speaks and behaves like they're the elevated authority, right, over the other, correcting their partner or their spouse or their teammate or whatever. And again, it's not just husband and wife or partners. I'm saying you can now look and hear something or someone and say, okay, they're operating from the parent mode of their ego. They're operating from the child mode. Okay. Now the adult mode, on the other hand, is the calm, communicative, mature, sensitive mode of conversation, that even in a disagreement, you're handling that disagreement with maturity, right? But the child is what? More reactive, temperamental, illogical, irrational, and emotional. Let me give you an example. Husband comes to a wife and says, babe, have you seen my cufflinks? And she answers, do I look like I saw your cufflinks? Guess what? I just answered in a child mode, all right? Or she can say, for example, no, babe, I haven't seen them. Last time I saw them, they were on the nightstand, but I'll help you look for them. Say that's adult mode. Are y'all getting it? Okay, let me give an example of the parent mode. So if I respond in a parent mode, then the parent mode is, well, you should be putting your cufflinks where you can find them. Now, I have told you over and over again what you need to do. Are y'all getting me? Are y'all with me? Now, I know that's a little exaggerated, but anybody know what I'm talking about? Can anybody identify some of your conversations some of y'all might have had today? Come on. So I'm here to tell you that you are operating, people of God, you are operating in one of those modes. And so if you begin to understand that, and you see you're treating people like children, or maybe you're treating people, or you're responding like a child, then guess what? I can understand why you have pain in your relationship, because you need to grow up. You need to become more communicative. Come on, you need to begin to identify what you're operating, the mode that you're operating in. And it might be unknowingly, and you think you're doing something, or you're helping, or that's the way you should be. But when you operate outside of adult to adult, and I'm talking about among adults, obviously, right? Then you are creating an unhealthy relationship, okay? Because your wife, your husband is not a child. I don't care how much you think they may or may not know, but you cannot build a healthy relationship treating adults like children, okay? Or vice versa. Are y'all with me, or have I lost y'all already? Okay, let's go. Okay, so next thing that we got to look at is that words matter. Words matter. I know everybody tells you words matter. But I want you to get this embedded in your heart and your spirit, because words cause pain, because we're talking about pain. And we know this, but you got to really know this. So when you open your mouth, you're looking at, my words can cause pain, or your words can release pain, meaning free people of pain. Your words need to define pain. We're going to talk about that next, but not, in just a moment. But in other words, you need to be able to build your emotional vocabulary so you can describe pain. And I'm gonna give you an example why, right? So you'll understand, all right? And then your words can heal pain. So if you want to become whole, you have to be tactical in your words, right? On all costs, in what you say, in what you release, and how you communicate, how you feel. That's right. Thank you. Hashtag words matter. Now, some of you are in pain 40 years later because of words that were spoken over you, because somebody told you you were ugly, because somebody said something about you, or because someone said the wrong thing, or particularly somebody that you looked up to, that you admired. But words hurt more from people we look up to, because you don't, when it's people that you don't necessarily value as high what they think, then it doesn't have the same level of pain, right? And some of you, though, have been in pain. I'm giving examples now. I want you to catch yourself and make these notes. Some of you are in pain because you've been unable to verbalize what's going on inside of you. In other words, some of you are in pain because you'll just feel some kind of way about certain things, but you can't describe to anybody how you feel. But guess what? That's on you. That's your problem. That's your fault. And that means you have to grow and you have to learn, because I'm going to give you a real example why you need to be able to talk. You have to be able to define your pain. We can't help you if you can't tell us really what's wrong with you. I'm going to go through that exercise with you so you can see very clearly why your inability to communicate will keep you in pain your entire life. Now, some of you are in pain because you have not discovered your purpose or your identity. Now, I'm giving you reasons why. Some of you, again, because pain comes from different ways. So some of you, unbeknownst to you, you're in pain because you don't know who you are yet. You don't know what you've been born to do. You just know you could be gifted and good at stuff, but it's just something still not satisfying you because you haven't tapped into purpose and identity. We're going to get to that, because again, pain comes from all these different places. That's why when I'm saying these different things, you need to mark what's you, because if your pain is that you haven't found your purpose, you better get on the road to find your purpose. If your pain has come because you don't know how to verbalize what's going on inside of you, then you better get on the road to learning how to communicate and define. And and that's gonna be part of this class today. And some of you are in pain because you feel guilt, because you feel shame, because you don't know how to forgive yourself. And so you haven't tapped into love. You really don't know what love is. You haven't really stepped into the love that forgives not just other people, but forgives yourself. Okay. So these are all the ways that we can experience pain. And I know that if you stay tuned in, the Holy Spirit is going to point to you. And some of you have kind of all of the above. Okay, so you got work to do, all right? But you got to do the work. It's not going to just go away. Let's go to now we're talking about those words. So now I hope you all can see this. This is part of my coaching tool that those that, pay me quite well to coach and teach them these kinds of things. This is one of the things that I share with them, because it's very important that you're able to define your pain. So you see here, there are basically six. The middle wheel is just basically the six common emotions, right, that we all have. fear, anger, happy, sad. But listen, if that's the way, if you only verbalize yourself in that very simplistic, basic way, it's going to be hard for anybody to help you, okay, through your pain, right? Because to just say, well, I feel sad, happy, or sad, that's not going to be enough for anybody to really, especially with a spouse and someone that you're intimate with, to be able to really tactfully, um, proceed with any kind of corrective behavior. And I'm going to give you an example. So I'm not talking vague. I'm going to give you all examples and you're going to be able to see yourself. Okay. So one of the first steps to dealing with pain is to be able to define it. So all of you on here, I know you came on because you got some level of pain. So can you define it? Can you define your pain? In other words, exactly what is your pain? So it's, in other words, if you look on this wheel, what is your pain? Not just, well, I'm angry. No, but you got to be specific. What is it that's made you angry? Is it really, I'm humiliated? I feel humiliated from this particular instance, or I am furious over that particular instance. So you got to be able to define it, because it's so important that we move beyond just saying the vague things, or I just feel some kind of way. That's one of the worst things we could do, is limit our expression, or I feel a little down. Well, listen, when you feel that way, then I'm charging you and challenging you to now always take the next step, and that's for you to now dig deep. And you can use even this emotional wheel and see, okay, what if I'm sad, exactly what is the level and dimension of sadness that I am dealing with, and be able to first identify it, and then you need to locate where it came from. Now, this might sound very simple, but some of us have lived our whole lives with pain without ever doing this exercise, without ever going beyond the surface level. So therefore, we continue to be offended. Come on, we continue to have issues with our partners, and we continue to have this pain. But again, it's impossible really for them to respond, improve, or correct behavior, because you give them vain expressions. Now, let me give an example. For example, you see your partner engaging in conversation. You're at a party with an attractive member of the opposite sex, and something about them, you see them across the room, they're laughing, they're joking, and just watching that causes something on the inside of you. Come on, something begins to rise up. And so because you started feeling some kind of way from your spouse, looking like they enjoy other people more than they enjoy you, looks like they have more conversation for other people than they have for you. So then now that pain, that feeling that you have inside of you, that anxiety, can only really truly be dealt with if you can properly communicate it. So again, let me give you an example. So someone who is a poor communicator might just say to their spouse, might start getting mad. Again, go into the child ego mode. Stop talking to them. Come on, have an attitude the rest of the night. Get in a mood, right? Instead of being able to communicate to them. And so they might say something like this. You disrespected me. I feel disrespected. And so your spouse is like, okay, why? Because you over there talking to them. You don't talk to me like that. You don't spend time with me like that. You don't laugh with me like that, right? And so this is kind of how a lot of our conversations go, right? Because again, it's accusatory, it's blame, and it's not you really ever really expressing the authenticity of what you are really feeling. Which of course means that you and I have to yield to the spirit of truth, and we have to be aware, okay? Like we're becoming aware tonight, so that we're able to properly communicate. So then what would that look like? That would look like something like this, where you would say, for example, listen, when because it doesn't seem as if you spend as much time with me, and it looks as if you're having a great time with someone else, and I'm missing that in our own relationship. When that happens, then I feel insecure, I feel neglected, it makes me feel ignored. And then on top of that, because I saw my mother, who had a husband who would often have girlfriends right in her face, when I see you laughing with a member of the other sex like that, and it doesn't seem like you and I are having those moments among ourselves, it takes me back to what I saw happen to my mother. And I believe it connects with me with some a level of fear and anxiety when I see that happen. Are you all seeing the difference? All right. So, do you see the difference between me doing the work, being able to communicate, examining myself to see what am I really feeling? It's not just disrespect. I'm insecure. It may be connecting to me feeling inferior. Come on, you gotta be honest, right? And so it's with that detail that now the spouse can say, oh, okay, I see where it comes from. What did I just bring? Understanding. Okay, this connects her to what happened to her mother. So guess what? Now I'm going to, okay, so now I'm not as irritated like she's just trying to control me. Come on. And she's just trying, like, have you ever had your spouse say, you ain't my mama, you ain't going to control me. But see, now that you were able to communicate like an adult and be honest with your vulnerability, now your spouse will I'm talking about if your spouse is rational at all, like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna have my wife with me. Now they can make changes. Are y'all seeing this? It's not a whole lot they can do with, well, I feel disrespected. You disrespected me. That's too vague. But when you give them all of the scenario, all of the truth, where it came from, now they can correct behavior. Now they can say, okay, I need to bring her. That makes her feel insecure. Are y'all with me? I need to know some of y'all are with me. Is this making sense? All right. Okay. So that's how you got to communicate. Now, some of y'all are lazy communicators, right? And so because you don't want to do it and you don't feel like you have to, or if you love me, you should know, then guess what? You're going to stay with the pain because that's the work. You know, when we talk about love is work, relationships are work, this is the kind of work we're talking about. Okay. It takes work, right? Because the main thing is we got to be willing to be vulnerable. And how many of you know I'm telling you, I'm guilty. I learned that I really didn't like telling people how I felt, right? I hadn't learned how to communicate. I'm glad y'all with me. Somebody said they with me. Let's go. Let's go. Y'all got that example. I got to keep on going because my time is getting away from me. All right. So let's see how we've been relating. I'm going to just show you some slides here with some statistics, but we're going to run through these so we can get out of here. All right. So just so you can see, the average relationship lasts for 2 years and 9 months. Isn't that something? You think that might have to do with some of the stuff we're talking about here? Communication, come on, understanding. Dating statistics show that 45% of Tinder users use the app to boost confidence. Come on. So you just look at some of these stats. I'm not gonna go through all of these, right? That are here. You can see though. Okay, I don't know what's happening here. So there are a lot of different stats on here that about relationships. On average, women have 7 relationships in their lifetime. Men have 8 relationships. Women have 7 sexual partners. Men have 10. I have here just the mindsets of millennials versus boomers. 70% of millennials want to get married, but they're not willing to settle for the wrong individual versus the boomers. many times married out of high school because back in my day, I am a boomer. I just made it in, y'all. I was just at the tail. I made it in. The major attitude back then was that you needed to marry by the time you graduated, or you wouldn't find anybody. There was like a race, to marry. And used to be it's a saying in my day that you don't go to college for MBA, you go to college for MRS. Y'all caught that? To be a Mrs. MRS. Y'all got it? Okay, let me keep going. All right. So boomers were a little bit more traditional, but the millennials, thank God, they're willing to break tradition. Let's go on to the next a little bit more about. Now we're going to talk a little bit more. Show you a little bit of marriage statistics. This is the real deal. Remember, this is part of my why. There's over 900,000 divorces every year. Less than 10% of those people divorced talk to anybody. Couples enter marriage with, we already know, 50-50 chance. 10% of marriages end in the first 2 years. 23% of married people have been married before. So basically, look at all these stats. You see why we need relationship training. We need to deal with our pain. And I would surmise a lot of people we know get married in pain. Come on, get divorced in pain, and get remarried in pain, and never learn to deal with the things that we're dealing with tonight. Okay, so these are just some stats that I wanted you to see and know. Let's keep going. Let's go to the next slide. But there is good news. There's science to love, and I'm going to just spit out some of the things about love and ways that you can evaluate your own love life, if you will, and to evaluate your state of being. There are proven research-based assessments that you can use. There's a math of love. In our marriage championship program, we use one of the best research tools. And if you're a pastor or a leader, I would encourage you, every pastor, to get become a marriage champion certified by a company that has been doing this for 30 years. We are in partnership with them because there are some elements of love that has to be dealt with naturally as well as spiritually. And so there are tons of research that show that there is a kind of a math, or it basically principles of love, right? That, listen, for those of you who are saints of God listening, there's some things you just need to learn, from a natural standpoint as well. All right. And so there's some things that can even be predicted 90% of the time. Don't have nothing to do with whether you both believe the same thing in terms of your faith, but it's also about your communication and your understanding. Are y'all with me? Not just your faith, certainly that's the foundation, but not just your faith, okay? But this is the good news. Even the worst marriages and relationships can be built. It can be rebuilt, right? Even in some of what you already found out today, if you start being aware and dealing with those things, it can improve your relationship. Okay, let's go. So now, one of the greatest myths is that marriage or meeting a great person or hanging out with great people will take away the pain. I hope that you understand from now until you go to heaven that is naive. That is false. You can hang around great people, but your pain won't go away until you really start putting these things into action. All right. That's a misconception, because misconceptions, disappointment, and unmet expectations are going to continue to bring pain. And you're going to continue to have misconceptions, unmet expectations, and disappointments if you don't communicate well, and if you're not vulnerable with your own life and then aware. Come on, you got to start being aware. Like, for example, if somebody said, if I come in the room and something about me coming in the room made you feel some kind of way, like, who is she? You need to start looking at that, like, why did I feel that way? What makes me respond that way? You got to start being aware and stop accepting your automatic reactions. Okay. And you got to start analyzing them, because a lot of them are pointing to a pain, a wound in your life, in your mindset, in your belief system, in your behaviors. It's probably pointing to some kind of inferiority, some insecurity. Deal with that, because anything you're feeling has nothing to do with the other person. If my presence makes you feel some kind of way, it's something wrong on the inside of you. It's something on the inside of you that you need to deal with. And so a lot of times we seek on the outside what can only come from the inside, and we're the only ones that can resolve our pain, right? And so some of us, I've seen it for decades, just use temporary pleasures, to deal with their pain, right? Some of you couples, you all been going on couples retreats for years, never dealt with the pain. Fight during the retreat. Come on, take grand vacations, but still really are unhappy, in your marriage. We can love people very much and never be one with them, because oneness is created through these factors, through these choices, through growing up, through maturing, through learning how to communicate. So, we can be together, not one. Like my husband used to say, just because you have a union don't mean you have unity. See, unity takes maturity. and I actually, unity is very spiritual. So to become one, we have to be willing to make these sacrifices, willing to learn, willing to grow. And that's really, really important for that to happen. All right. So for that to happen, let me give you some things that stop us from being one. Let me give you the 4 major things that stop you and I from being one, whether it's on a team, on a job. And that's number 1. I'm still on the last slide. But self-concept, these are the 4 things that keep you from being one and continue to have pain. And if somebody can put this in the comments, number 1 is self-concept, your concept of yourself. If you have a poor self-concept, you're going to be hard to get along with or to be one with. You really can't. All these things hinder. And that's why the best part of your relationship and getting rid of your pain is about you fully evaluating yourself, examining yourself in these areas. What's my self-concept? Do I feel good about myself? Do I really love myself? Number 2, your maturity. We're going to have a quick exercise with maturity, right? It's hard to be one with someone that's immature. I gave you a demonstration of that, right? That just reeks of a contentious relationship if you operate out of the ego of a child. Independence. Okay. Independence and individuation, meaning if you approach partnership and relationships all about you, about how things affect you, and you really more independent and individualized instead of really thinking about the whole and thinking about the team. And then number 4 is adaptability. How well you can adapt. How well can you change your mindsets, make an adjustment. Like if you were going to your favorite restaurant, then it was just a 3-hour wait. Then okay, babe, let's just go over here. Then the whole night, it's spoiled because you didn't get your way, or it didn't go the way you wanted it to go. You can't let it go. And actually, that's a whole nother subject matter. That can be something in your brain, and tune in later on this month. We're going to talk more about that. That could actually be something in your brain. If you're a person that a thought or disappointment keeps running through your brain and racing through your brain and you can't let it go, that could actually be a physiological issue in your brain, because there are parts of our brains that when they're overreactive, it causes people to not be able to let go of a thought. Can't let it go. Can't let that hurt go. Can't let that conversation go. And you keep running it over and over and over. That can literally be a physiological thing. But it also can be a maturity thing. But those kinds of emotional, psychological behaviors are not okay. If I'm describing you, I'm here to tell you you need to deal with that. You need to work on that, because that means you're broken, you're fractured in some kind of way, and it's not going to go away until you face it. All right. And so all of these things impact your ability to be one and to have loving, healthy relationships. Let's go to the next slide. All right. Next slide. All right. So let's face it. The bottom line, a marriage, a ministry, a team can only be as healthy as the least healthy person in that relationship. Are you the weak link in your relationship, in your home, on your team? Are you the weak link? Because it can only be as healthy as the least healthy person, right? I remember there used to be a show and they called The Weakest Link, right? The foundation of marriage and relationship means you got to have relational priorities, meaning you got to have these mindsets. Again, it's not just individual that understands communication. The strength is forgiveness. So you got to be able to forgive, right? Let things go for real. Again, now have that mind that's racing and reminding yourself of things over and over again. The power of marriage and relationship is vision. I often say to couples when I coach them that you know, when love has waned, you better have vision, because vision will keep a marriage together when love has left. Y'all better help me today. Don't throw no rocks at me. I'm going to say it again because I meant what I said. Vision will keep you together when love doesn't. What do you mean? I'm saying a lot of people divorce that love each other. The reason why they divorce is because they didn't see each other in their future. See, when your spouse or when that business or that church, ministry, whatever, when you don't see it as a part of your future, that's when you leave. Right? So vision is very critical to healthy relationships, relationships that have vision. In other words, have a purpose-filled relationship. The war of marriage and relationship is selfishness, right? The real war is somebody is selfish. The Bible puts it this way. It says that contention comes only, did I say only? Only through pride. So any place where there's continual contention, somebody has a spirit of pride. Y'all better help me today. The foundation of friendship and relationship is awareness. I'm decreeing and declaring that tonight you're becoming more aware of your situation, of where you are, your maturity. Come on, because now that you're aware, guess what? That's the first step to healing. Because as long as you're not aware, guess what? You're just right. As long as you're not aware, come on, you're insensitive. As long as you're not aware, it's not on the radar. There's specific elements that create relational success. And these are some of the things that we're talking about tonight. Great relationships result in greater health. This is proven, you all. This is why this is important. Because your pain that you've been living with, guess what? Sooner or later, it's going to catch up in your health. It can affect your wealth, your recovery from illness, your longevity. And guess what? It's going to affect your children. Science has proven that when parents are in contentious, unloving relationships, they pass those emotions to their children. Didn't I tell you my why? Okay? And so I'm telling you that whatever's going on in your house, your children are being impacted by your relationship. So this should be a reason for you to get more serious and stop thinking that stuff is going to just change. Yes, from prayer, but prayer has brought you a strategy. Prayer has brought you to stop the pain. So now the time now is to take your faith and put some work to that strategy, to that prayer, to that faith, so you can change your life. How many of y'all are going to be ready to change? Let's go. Let's face it. It's time for you to face this pain. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So where do we begin? These are the 4 quick things I'm going to run through real quick, and we almost done. I just need a few extra minutes. I know it's almost 9. I wanted to be done by right here, but I just got a few more things to go through. All right, y'all with me? Can y'all hang with me? Can you hang with me about 10 more minutes? I'm going to wrap this up. Are y'all with me? Let me see. Y'all with me? All right. Is this helping? Is this helping? So this is where we begin. First of all, I'm giving you how to, we talking about getting eradicating your pain. You got to know who you are. These are the 4 key components. You got to know who you are, your identity, understand love. I'm going to talk to you about the 8 types of love. And then you have to start making healthy choices. And then you got to know the science of love. All right. All right, let's go. Let's go. So I think we're going to start with identity right here. Okay. So identity, one of the ways to discover your identity. Before I get into that, I want you to just look at this grid real quick. Okay. So this grid represents the grid of successful life. Right? A happy, successful life. And guess what it's built upon? And we know God, but identity, your God identity, the identity that God made you, the identity, come on, that for which you were born on the earth. If you have not discovered that, that's like removing that foundational block, and you are on shaky ground. That's why everything goes back to who you are. What were you put here to do? What are your gifts? What are your purposes? What's your mission? What's your value in the earth? Can you answer those questions? If I were to ask you, what are you called to do? Can you answer me? If you can't answer them, you go, I think, listen, this is part of your problem. This is why you're unhappy in your relationships, because this is the foundation of good relationships. Think about it. Think about it. How in the world am I in a relationship with someone that says they love me and they love me that I don't even know? Come on. How is somebody loving you and getting to know you and you don't know you? Right? So that's where all of the confusion and chaos comes, because it's a shaky ground. So you see here, from identity, then you build intimacy. So you know what that means? If you don't know who you are, you can never really have intimacy. Not true intimacy, because intimacy is into me, you see. So again, you don't know you can't, nobody can peer into you because you haven't discovered you. So we're trying to be intimate without having identity, right? So then a clear identity builds intimacy. Then intimacy is all of those skills. Intimacy is growing and maturing, becoming an adult, and going, from person to, adult to adult, right? And so developing in that way. And again, that's kind of where our parents should have taught us manners and taught us things about caring for one another, sharing, all those things. We learn those skills, and then that builds next level, which is relationships. And then from those relationships, we build satisfaction and love. And from love and satisfaction, that's where our peace comes from. And then from that, we have successful lives, successful marriages, successful families. Y'all get it? All right. So these are some ways to discover identity at the bottom. Prayer. Okay, again, because your identity comes from God, knowing why he made you. Number 2, becoming aware of your natural gifts. I'm going to give you some links. If those of you have never taken the gift test, the personality test, I'm going to give you some free links. You need to do that, because again, it's going to help to identify, and you be able to say, you take those tests and say, okay, I'm gifted at this. I'm gifted at administration. I'm gifted at whatever it is. And then you take it to your prayer closet. And I'm going to give you some, I think towards the end, which is not far, some 4 ways for you to discover your calling, right? I'm going to give you a little formula to help you. For those of you all who people been asking you this for years and you still haven't discovered it, right? You're going to be in pain. if you don't discover these things. So another way, taking note of your passion areas. I'm giving you hints. If you don't know who you are, what are you passionate about? Well, I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about helping people. Write these things down. If you begin to start writing them down and continuing to be aware, you're going to get to your calling and your purpose. Start paying attention to what other people what makes you angry, right? My husband used to say, what makes you angry, many times you're called to correct. Right. So if it makes you angry, to see people mistreated, you might have a calling or a purpose to be a voice for those people, to do something in particular. Because again, your anger is also a compass. Your passion is a compass to where you are called. List your strengths. Now, this is your homework, people. List your strength. What are you good at? I'm good at organization. I'm good at communicating. I'm good at bringing people together. I'm good at whatever it is. List your strengths, right? Know it. So when people ask you about yourself, you're able to communicate and say, listen, well, this is what I do. This is my passion. This is what I love doing. This is what I'm good at. You got to be able to say it and say it quickly. Right? Because you know it, because you're walking in it, and that you are using, listen, this is one key to happiness, to diminish your pain. If you really know, you know what you'll find out? I did this exercise. When I did all of this, and I started paying attention to when I light up when I'm creating things. I light up when I'm around people that are creative. I light up, when we're doing something new. Like, I can't stand things like we doing the same thing over and over and over again, same people talking about saying, oh my God, that drives me up a wall. And so when I started paying attention to what makes me light up, what makes me happy, and then I looked at my calendar, you know what I discovered? I had hardly nothing on my calendar that made me light up. Oh, y'all, but I just helped somebody right there. See, once you do that, then what you have to do to be intentional, you start putting on your day and your calendar, I'm going to do these things that bring me love, that bring me light, that bring me passion, that make me light up. Because you know what I discovered? I had gotten in such a mode of survival, such a mode of helping other people, such a mode that my calendar was filled with me doing stuff for everybody else, and my passion wasn't on my calendar. Like some of you, that's why some of you are in pain, because your calendar doesn't have your passion on it. I want you to look at your calendar after we're gone and make sure you begin to schedule your passion on your calendar. I promise you, your pain will begin to diminish as you start intentionally scheduling moments that are going to make you smile, that's going to bring you joy. Another thing, list your values. In other words, what's important to you? I value integrity. I value truth. Come on. I value people treating other people right. You got list your values. All of this is going to show you who you are and what's important to you, and you begin to build your life. Take personality tests. I'm going to give you some links to that. That's going to help you bring more definition, be able to communicate more. Come on, a lot of those tests are going to give you some of the language that you need to give to your spouse or to you on your job, to be able to say, well, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not good at. This is my weakness. This is my strength. So some of you who struggle with the language, a lot of the tests are going to give you that language if you read them. And if you're honest with them, right? And so then lastly, ask those that know you what you do well. Some of you ask somebody will tell you that what you haven't even discovered. Ask them, what do you think I do well? What's in your opinion, what do I do well? Get the opinions of others, and then you'll see how other people see you and the gifts that they see in your life. Very important. Okay, let's go. I know it's time to go. We got to wrap this up. Now we're going to talk about love. There's 8 kinds of love. I want ladies and gentlemen, listen, I just want to dispel this, because some of the people who you felt like they lied to me. they told me they loved me. No, they loved you. They just didn't love you the way necessarily that you wanted to be loved. Because guess what? It's 8 kinds of love. We're talking about language again and definition. That's the thing about the English language. That's the thing about us preachers. That's why we got to study Hebrew and Greek, right? Because our language is more limited than their language, because many times, just like with love, the English language only has one word for love, but there are 8 types of love. So they might have loved you, but listen, let's look at these love. And I want to say this, but each of these loves have a different catalyst, or in other words, it's birthed from a different place. So there's affectionate love, philia. There's enduring love, pragma. There's family love, storge. There's romantic love, eros. There's playful love, ludus. There's obsessive love, mania. There's self-love, philotia. And that's what some of you all are missing. Oh, come on. And then there's, of course, we know about the agape love, and that's unconditional love. Let's go to the next slide, because I just want to are y'all hearing me? So again, these are actually the 8 types of love. How many of you have ever seen this before, that understand, ever seen that there's 8 kinds of love? So now I want to tell you where they come from. So now this is real, like this can be life changing too, because I'm giving you an understanding of love. And some of you going to look back and you're going to see that you really love someone in a particular way, or they loved you in a particular way, but you because you only remember that wheel of emotion, because you only called it love and you didn't understand the specific love. Do you understand how that can cause division, strife? That's how hearts can be broken. That's how people end up getting together that really maybe shouldn't have been married, because they just might have just had a particular type of love, but not the love that's necessary for marriage, and that's going to be enduring. Okay, so we look at the pragma love. The pragma love comes from your subconscious, right? So pragma love is a love that comes over time, right? So if you can think of some people that you didn't just necessarily consciously, fall in love with them. And again, it doesn't have to be opposite sex, but these are people that your love has come over time, right? And then you begin to love because there is it's a subconscious trust in them, like over time. That's an enduring love that happens over time. It's not immediate. But then, okay, so now eros love, I don't even have to go into that with y'all. Okay, I know you know about eros. Like we know about eros, right? We know that, but the catalyst, of course, with eros is the body. It's attraction. Come on, it's physical. So again, somebody can eros you. See, the issue is they eros you, but they didn't pragma you. Remember I said they probably loved you? They eros you because there is a love, or in other words, an attraction, a desire that had come from my body, but you have not entered into my subconscious mind. Y'all, I want to run right here, right? So in other words, I can love you with my body without you having ever entered into my subconscious. Lord, help me today. I'm about to run. Okay. So they probably did love you, but they just eros you, right? And then there is what? Ludus. That's your playful love. That's the love that where you can be whimsical and childlike, and that's the love that flirting, humor, exciting. And let me say this before I just forget to say it, right? Except for one of these types of love, to have a great marriage, you need all of them. You need all of them. So I want you to look at what parts of love, what elements and dimensions of love your marriage might be missing, or your relationships might be missing, right? Of course, eros doesn't apply to when you're not intimate, but these are the different types. And that's why to love in full is to love in all of these different ways. Let me give an example. If you're a couple, you all are never playful. You don't know how to be playful and flirt, and you don't have those exciting moments with one another. Everything is just rigid and serious and contentious. Guess what? You don't have ludus. So you're missing. So part of your pain is that you're missing part of the love. Lord, help me today. See, this is being specific to see some of you feeling you're missing, but this is to tactically tell you and show you these are some of the parts that you're missing, right? That you might be getting eros, but because you don't get ludus, then eros makes you feel funny because you don't get the playfulness or that feeling of closeness that comes from that humor and that exciting, adventurous part of the relationship. Are y'all with me today? And so did I say where that came from? Ludus comes from emotion. So ludus comes from emotion. Are y'all staying with me? So we said pragma comes from subconscious. Eros comes from the body, a connection with the body. Ludus is emotional. Philia actually is mind, from the word where we get Philadelphia. So that's a love that comes from your mind. Y'all better help me today. Have you ever heard somebody say, this is real stuff, that I fell in love with his mind? You can fall in love with the mind. It's a mind connection, in other words. So you can have a body connection. You can have connection over time. You can have a connection, in the mind. That's what philia really means, a mind connection. And so that's where, when the deep conversation and people whose mind you connect with, it can form a love. Oh, Lord, help me today. And then they have storge. Storge is family love. That's more from memories. Like think back to if I was to talk about your friends from high school or from grammar school or that you hung out with, right? You'll have this feeling of love just thinking about the memories. But also, this is a love, again, this is family love. It's a love like when you have your child. Come on, that wasn't over time. That wasn't eros, right? That wasn't playful. That was immediately from having that child. Come on, you immediately love them because it's a family love, and it's something that exists in it's attributed to your memories, because of course, like when a child is born, they become part of your memories and all the things, and even from watching the what is it, the sonograms and all of that. It's a love that comes from the memory realm, okay? And then philatia is self-love, and self-love comes from the soul. This comes from the soul. That's why if your soul is damaged, you have pain here, and you may be missing your self-love, right? And one of the indicators that you have damage here is you don't put yourself first. You set yourself on fire to make everybody else warm, and you keep doing it over and over again, right? Then you regret it. Then you end up with the short end of the stick. So this is a love some of you are missing, and that's why you're in pain, because if you had this love, you would make healthier choices. You would do things differently. Come on here. You wouldn't allow people in your life that you've allowed in your life. But this love comes from your soul, from your mind, your thoughts, right? Now, mania. Mania is a love, but it's obsessive love. This is the only one of the 8 loves that you should not have. It is negative, and it comes from survival. It is obsessive. It is something you want to avoid. So what am I saying, though? Like those obsessive fans that have killed people and done things like that. Again, there is such thing as an obsessive love. And so there are people who would rather kill you than lose you, right? And it's not that they don't love you, but they have mania love. It's a perverted love. All right. And this is the only one of the 8 that you don't need and that you should never have. And then, of course, there's agape, and we know where that comes from. That comes from the spirit. That's spirit love. That's selfless love. That's the God kind of love. That's the love we know about in church. But come on, how many know the church folks need to learn about some of these other loves? Because see, it's separate. Just because we have a spirit love does not mean we know how to not be rigid and playful, or that we love ourselves. That's why he said you got to love him what with your own mind. Didn't God say it? With your own body, with your own soul. Doesn't he say it? Love me in all these ways. Y'all better help me today, right? Because they're different dimensions that we need to evaluate. Am I loving in each of these capacities? Listen, that right, this right there is worth your time today. Come on, next slide. We ending this up. We're wrapping this up. Thank y'all for your patience, because all this is about you. Making choices is all about you. You being healthy. Nobody's responsible for your happiness, for your health, for your pain. You decide your financial future, your mental health, your physical health. All of this is about you making the right choices, you doing what you need to do. It's all about you. Next slide. To make healthy choices. All right. And some of the things to make healthy choices, these are 5 skills you need. You need to be self-aware. You need to regulate yourself. You got to motivate yourself. You need to learn to have empathy. That means you need to start being more aware of feelings, other people's feelings. Some of you might have to pray to have more empathy. I can tell you, I used to be like very insensitive, right? And so I had to pray about being more empathetic. And then you got to develop social skills. So kudos to you. This is all of what this is about. Growing here, so that again, as you develop yourself and your relationships, you will have less pain, right? Because some of your pain, believe it or not, is in your head. And some of the pain just called you need to change perspective. But some of the pain is because you need to develop relationship skills. Let's go to the next slide. I'm really almost done. But this slide right here is also worth your while right here. These are the emotional equations. I'm not going to go into all of this right here. I have a class and a course that goes into this in detail, where I break these things down for you so you can have tactical, practical ways to improve your life and to grow mentally and spiritually. But this is one of the things out of my coaching class that I share. Look at this. And again, these are real answers and understanding. Look at this. I'm just going to call out a few. Listen, calling equals pleasure over pain. What does that mean? I'm saying here, what is it in your life? You haven't found your calling. What is it that, in spite of all the pain that you are in, that even in the midst of all your pain, you can have pleasure when you do it? I think you just discovered your calling. Huh? In other words, you can be in a bad marriage and have all this pain, but when you do this particular thing, you forget what everything that's going on. And then when you can pull that pleasure out of all that pain, you have just found your calling. Y'all, I'm helping somebody today. I want you to think about what makes you smile in the midst of your pain, and you have just found your calling. Are y'all with me here? What is joy? Joy is love minus fear. What is faith? Faith is when you put belief over your intellect, right? You have to believe something over your intellect, over the circumstances. What is wisdom? Wisdom is the square root of experience. Y'all remember the square root, right? It's the word, a value that when multiplied equals the other value. So in other words, experience multiplied equals wisdom. All right. So these are life equations. Disappointment is expectations minus reality. In other words, you're disappointed because your expectations did not meet reality. Right. So how do we now let me get you to understand how you use this to apply it to your life and be intentional. So if I don't want to be disappointed with my life, with my marriage, with my partnership, my business partner, guess what? Then we want to set right expectations, right? We want to set expectations correctly, because if we don't, if we're vague in our communication, if we say, well, I'm going to be doing all of this and you can expect this from me, but that's not real, well, then you set yourself up and you set your partner up, you set your business up for disappointment. Why? Because you didn't communicate well, properly, maturely, or accurately, right? And so you're going to have disappointment because the reality is nowhere near the expectations you set. So one of the keys in managing disappointment is being able to communicate clear and reasonable expectation. So you got to use these charts to understand, oh, that's how I stop being disappointed. I shift my mind to the right expectation. See, some of you stop expecting people who are childlike to act like adults. Right? So you would stop being disappointed and having all that pain if you understood these equations, right? Because you'll always have that pain of disappointment if your expectations are off from reality. That's why you got to be able to analyze reality properly. And guess what? You'll stop being disappointed. Are y'all with me? Y'all get this? Despair is suffering minus meaning. What do we mean? That goes kind of back to the man on the airplane, right? When you get meaning, remember I said understanding, then it's like if it's no meaning to my suffering, I can't take it. But when I have some meaning, if I understand it, when I understand a purpose, now, come on, that diminishes my pain. Are y'all with me? I got to keep going. You need to get to class. Come on, let's go to the next slide. I can't go through all of these because you need to get to class. We're going to go to the next slide. So what is all of this as we wrap this up? Okay, go back to go to the last slide. We were wrapping up. The slide before that, it looked like you skipped a slide. Okay. All of this have to do with you is that you got to understand greater relationships and friendships cause greater health, greater wealth, greater resilience. All that. I actually said that. Okay, greater longevity. Let's go. Yeah, you was right. Go on to the next slide. We already said that. So these are the 4 components of relationship I want you to deal with. And again, I have a class that goes into these in detail, but these are the 4 things I want you to evaluate right now. Are you calm in your relationships? In other words, is there a calmness? Is there a calmness in you? Or is it always anxiety? Is there trust? Is there commitment? And is there passion? You can ask that for yourself and for the people you're in. And that's in a team, whatever environment, at a job, at a ministry, whatever. If you don't have one of these missing, and God help you, if all of them are missing, then you just have chaos. All right. So then in order to improve that relationship, you have to say, okay, calmness. If calmness is missing, why am I not calm? Why do I have anxiety? Or why do they have anxiety? Why do I give other people anxiety? Trust. Why don't I trust? Do they not trust me? These are the 4 elements right here, just to simplify it. So I want you to evaluate your marriage, your relationships, and say, nope, that's missing. Nope, that's missing. Well, guess what? Whatever's missing is causing you pain. Because if you don't have these areas, this is what you haven't been able to verbalize. I really don't feel calm with you. I don't really feel commitment. I don't feel the passion. Everything we're talking about is going to relate to these 4 pillars, if you will, in a relationship. Okay, next slide. I got to keep going. So the power of you, your life really is going to mirror your ability to love, your ability to manage to deal with your pain. And guess what? Your pain equals the love that you are missing. The pain that you're feeling is a part of one of those loves, one of these areas, one of these pillars that are missing. So if you want to get rid of the pain, and I thank you for joining me tonight to stop ignoring the pain, but you got to do the work. And listen, I know for some of you, Valentine's Day is coming up. and you've had pain for decades, and you're still going to just book that next vacation or buy that next piece of jewelry or have that next couple's night and that double date, come on, and not get the tools to actually live your best life that everybody's talking about and all those pictures that we taking on Instagram. Next slide. So today I've been giving you, for this time we spent together, knowledge to stop the pain. Grow your vocabulary, your emotional vocabulary. Identify what part of the ego that you're operating in every part of your life. Start grasping your identity and understanding love and what loves you are missing and what loves that you're not operating in and what loves your marriage and your relationships are operating in. Start looking at these emotional equations and begin to deal with what's missing and begin to build the life that you want, to minimize your pain, get rid of the pain, and take specific action to have abundant life. Next slide. So now, listen, I invite you to go to my website, darlynturner.com. There are some free downloads on there of some teachings and things that I have on there. Some are free. All right. And I'm going to keep adding to it. So keep checking back. I have coaching sessions available on my website for those of you who desire a coaching session, particularly couples. I really specialize in that. I'm a certified marriage champion. If you want a session with you and your spouse, I particularly am here for pastors and those in ministry, because they need places where they can know that it's confidential and know that I know exactly, what it's like to be in a marriage and to have, issues you have to deal with. My husband and I'm talking about the chief apostle. We had spots in our marriage that was rough, right? And we went and got help. We went and sat down and got help, right? Because we came to an impasse at a point where we were like, okay, wait a minute, I don't know if this is gonna go any further. We're gonna have to deal with this. And we did it, and we got through it. Okay. I have classes here on my website that go into detail. Some of my classes are about intimacy, about relationship acumen, about a lot the details of a lot of the things that we talked about that had to go real quick, but that will really help you to walk through with examples so you can start learning and growing. I got books there. And of course, for some of you who may be pastors, teachers, leaders, if you want to become a marriage champion and work with me and help with couples and do some conferences together, I have a great opportunity for you to join our marriage community, and you become a certified marriage champion through a company and corporation that does that for a living. It's not my company. I've partnered with them. They are amazing, and it's a husband and wife team that has this amazing tool of research that when you sit down with couples, they get 18 pages about themselves and about their soul and about their thinking and about their habits. And it is an amazing tool. And if you want to help couples, and especially if you're a pastor, I think every pastor should get certified in this. It will change the lives of your couples. Okay. And so you can go to my website there and you can become a marriage champion. All right. Next slide. But for those of you who want to take it a step further, I also have a mentorship program. Often I've had people tell me they wanted me to mentor them. And I have done, a lot of, classes, sessions for free. I still do that. But this is more intense. This includes everything that I'm talking about here. A lot of value, all of my classes, all of my products, plus a private page where I share not just things like this, where I share even some financial things, some investment things that's, I have some things going on right now. And so with this page, those who invest in this, I'm going to be sharing a whole lot more things about life. We're going to be coming together. So besides all of the products that I have, it's also going to include 9 hours of coaching, because we're going to be meeting for the next 6 months together in a private Zoom. Okay, so normally I charge at least $200 an hour or more, but we're going to be meeting together for the next 6 months, coming together. It includes my course, The Power of You. And so a lot of what I talked about today is just a little bit of this course I did, where it's over 3 days, and it was, a couple of hours every day that we went into the detail, because again, you got to change your mindset. You really have to get into the details. God is in the details, right? And it includes that course. And so the value of all of that is over $3,600, plus my private page, where you're going to be getting tips about things like investments and stuff that I only share with my friends. So you're going to be like part of my friendship family. I'm going to share things. I got some things going on right now. And again, I have a disclaimer, because I'm not a financial analyst, but I'm going to tell you about some things that I've invested in already. One of the things that I invested in, how can I say this the right way? In just a few short months, it's gone from 50 cents to $10.15 in just a few short months, 2,000% increase. So I'm going to be just sharing with that group a lot of things that I just share with my friends. And so all of that you get, if you want to become part of my mentorship program, today it's going to be 50% off at $1,800.27. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, that's a lot. Listen, not for your soul, not for your life. Come on, to turn around, not for your marriage. Come on, to take a whole nother turn. Listen, that's nothing. Most people spend more money on their vacation and on everything else, and not on themselves, not on relationship. So if you've never invested at this level, I just want to ask you, have you invested more than that on a vacation? Have you invested more than that on a pair of shoes? Come on. Did it have a lasting return? Is it in the back of your closet? Come on, we got to start investing in the right things. I've invested in myself. This is how I'm able to teach this to you. This is how I got out of the depression that I was in. This is how I avoided having the mental problems that my mom had. Because, by the way, I didn't mention in the front that my mom was bipolar. She ended up having a lot of mental issues. Again, holding all that pain. Y'all, pain has consequences. And I determined that I was not going to live like that. I was not going to be unhappy. And I was not going to live with pain. And so that's why my goal is to help you. I want I got some help here. I want to ask that you put those links. We're going to put some links in the comment area for you. All right. For you to purchase, whether it's, there's stuff that's free. There's classes that are just $39. I put them way low for people, because I know everybody. I never wanted to be where, if you don't have thousands of dollars, you can't learn. You can still get the information at whatever level. But the mentorship level is a whole nother level, because this is about really transformation at a whole nother place. Okay. And so some of the classes that are going to be include time management, emotional intelligence, intimacy. The power of you is really extensive. And a lot of what we talked about today, not a lot, I'm saying just, it's going to go more detail into that. And so this mentorship, though, is not on the website. If you want to be part of the mentorship, you got to look in the links here. I went ahead and put, because I understand that some people may need a payment plan. So that's not on the website, because honestly, I can only mentor a few people at a time if I'm really going to do it right. And I have some things planned. And so if you want to be part of my mentorship program, you got to click on the link. And you have to do it through that link, okay? It's not going to be on the website. I didn't put that on the website, all right? But the marriage champion, if you want to do that, that's on the website. If you just want some classes and some books and some free downloads, just go to the website. But if you want to be mentored, if you want to get, more material, if you want to get some of my insight about other things that relate to life, that relate to money and wealth and things like that, and to be part of some of my more intimate settings on a monthly basis, then you join the mentorship program. Listen, any questions? Again, all of that is in the chart. Is there a next slide or no? Yeah, go to the next slide. Okay, so if you and then we'll go back to the last slide. But I wanted to explain with the mentorship program, when you do that, take these steps. Send up you pay on the link, and then okay, that shouldn't say purchase online at darlyn.com. Ignore that because that's not on darlyn.com. But mentorship, then you send your receipt to Darlyn. Okay, to Coach Darlyn. Okay, that's not, you know what? Yeah, send the receipt to Coach Darlyn at yahoo.com. And then from there, um, you're going to get some more information. But when you buy the mentorship program, you're going to get a link to that private page. Okay. And that private page has those classes and courses all on the page. So you don't have to worry about downloading and buying it this way and that way. That's all on the page. All right. That's through the mentorship program. But if you're going to do it through darlynturner.com, then you just follow the prompts on darlynturner.com. All right. And if you do it today, you're going to get a special. I'm going to put everybody who purchases something today in a special raffle, and I'm going to do a raffle because I thank you all for attending. Now go back to the other slide. So any questions? I hope this helped. Go back to the previous one. No, go back to the previous slide with the any questions for me? Anything? I hope you all enjoyed this. This lasted a little longer than I had expected, but I was trying to give you enough so that even if, whatever you do, I wanted you to walk away with some tools and with something in your heart and in your spirit that it'll stay with you, right? So the next time you say something to your spouse, the next time you have an interaction, you're thinking about your ego, you're thinking about what, where you're working from, and that you're going to do the work. Also, in these links, don't forget these links. I have free stuff there. So take a look at these links. There's a link, all these free links for you. And this is some of the things I give my coaching folks. I'm giving it to you. All right. Get your personality test done. That's in the comments here. Find out what your gifts are. So there's like 4 or 5 links in this feed here. Take those links, do the test, do the work, discover yourself. Come on, and begin to make sure that you're able to have your full identity and embrace it and be unapologetically you. Does mentorship link have the payment plan set within it? Yes. So if you're doing the mentorship link, you see, you can scroll up and you'll see there's full payment plan. There's Amina, put the 3 plans in the link again because it's kind of moved up. But there's full payment plan, then there's 2 payment plan, and then there's 3 payment plan. So if you purchase the day full payment plan, then I have a special gift for you. Period. But you just choose which one: full payment, 2 payments, 3 payments. All right. But it's a 6-month program. The payments last up to 3 months. Okay. So whatever method is best for you, that's what you do. When you engage there, you will get a link to the page. So on the page, you'll have all those classes and courses there, but then we'll also be in communication. And then you'll also have to take the step with the marriage champion when you join with the mentorship program. When you do that, and I see that you've joined, I'm going to also send you a link, because I include the marriage champion opportunity with your mentorship. So I'm going to automatically give you the opportunity to become certified in our community, and I'd love to work with you to do marriage retreats, because I'm looking for a team to work with me to train you and to help, because the certification comes from a particular company, but then I also do other things to and give you information like what we gave today. This didn't come from other companies. This is information in my presentations. Okay, so I'm going to share with you like what I do, and I'm going to allow you to do the same thing. Take this information and you use it the way you want to, because I want us to work together, because only one person can only do so much. So I'm going to be sharing with you my materials and my presentations and all of that, because of course I wouldn't just give that away to anybody. But for those who join my mentorship program, I'm going to be giving you a lot of the material that I've put together for you to have your own classes and your own courses, because we're going to work together. There's only so much we all can do, right? So that's what this is all about. So listen, I want to encourage you. Some of you, listen, if you can't do the mentorship, at least take some of the classes. Do what you can, but don't continue to live the life you've been living. All right. So if you want to stop the pain, you got to begin to learn. You got to start to learn, because my people perish. Why? Not because they don't pray enough, not because they don't love God, because of a lack of knowledge. I hope today that you have seen, at least in some way, the knowledge that's necessary for you and I to have healthy relationships. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on tonight. Listen, show me some love if you learned something, if you know that you're taking something from here tonight. And what this is another thing you can do. Share this. Recommend this teaching. If you got a lot from this, send this to somebody who needs it, especially a contentious couple or people who you know may be sad or may be dealing with pain. I want you to send this to someone. Even doesn't matter whether they purchase anything, just so they can get the knowledge, right? And they can be on the road to healing. That's what this is about. That's my why, because I don't want to see anybody else live for decades and stay in pain. Thank you again. Thank you again for joining me. I'm looking for any questions. All right. Stop the pain. It's time to stop the pain. And so, when you learn the lessons, you'll stop the pain. God bless you all. Thank you for joining. We're going to leave this information up for a few minutes, but I thank you all for spending this time with me. God bless you.